We are live. We are live. Sam, start us off. Start us off.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Sam Shukavage with Carolina Retirement Planners, and you are joining us for our weekly happy half hour. I'm Sam Shukavage. Dad, you want to introduce yourself?
I am David Shikavich, and I am the president of Carolina Retirement Planners, and Sam is my partner here in the business. And I am sitting as we speak at the corner of 7th and Market in Wilmington. And what are we talking about today, Sam?
We're talking about required minimum distributions.
And why is this important that we tell people about them now in particular?
Because we are nearing the end of the year and the end of the time for you to, take your RMDs.
Or what happens if you don't take them?
Well, all kind. You got it. You
We,
can maybe get them forgiven. You could maybe pay a
you might have
50%
to pay a
penalty.
penalty.
It
We're
might.
going to cover the penalties here in a few minutes too. You don't want to miss your RMD, and it's easy to do. So we're going to talk about how much and why and a bunch of other kind of interesting stuff, some history you may not be expecting. So we're going to have some fun with that. And of course, we'll also follow our tradition. At the end, we will have a drawing for wine for the people that had entered for wine, and we're looking forward to that as usual. So, um, and what else can we? We always like to welcome people to join us as they join, and we'll let a few more come in, but or get our names on the screen before we get there. But yeah, RMDs are a lot of fun. We'll have some.
Well, it's also we always talk about what day it is, Dad. We've been doing this
Oh,
for
that's
how many episodes now, and this is
what day is it? Nobody tells me till we're on.
well, Dad, you haven't even introduced Amy yet.
Well, that you
Goodness
were running the
gracious.
okay.
I was not running the show. You were
Let
running
me
the show.
interest our director of first impressions, the woman who makes
Not
this all
first
possible.
impressions.
I
Love
mean,
you
our
guys
director.
so much, like for
What is
real.
happening?
I'm just anyway.
We had a full moon this past weekend. Halloween happened. Everything's just crazy. It's okay. So,
Uh,
hi.
The Halloween shenanigans are
that's
our
right.
last
Yeah.
That's
minute
right.
till Thursday. Hey, Amy.
Hi. How are you guys?
I'm great. How was your Halloween?
It was wonderful. It was a lot of fun. So, always do a little family thing. And
Yeah, what did your
my
family
mom
dress
didn't
up?
join us this year, but it was still really nice. So,
What did y'all all? I know you always like have a theme. What was your theme this year?
there's a minute. We did old school kind of like monster theme, and Matt and I went as he was like a voodoo prince and I was like the voodoo doll. And then my daughter, grandson, all that, they went as Frankenstein's, Frankenstein, son of Frankenstein, bride of Frankenstein. There's my dog. My dog is crazy. Sorry about that. But by the way, this is number 165, and today is Day of the Dead Day. Mm.
Oh,
Oh.
like the national Mexican holiday.
Yes, yes.
Sure.
And I asked everybody to tell me what their favorite Mexican dish was. So I'll pass it on to you guys while I go get some hellos for you.
Honestly, street tacos for me probably. I love a I love, there's like Mexican food and then there's American Mexican food. But what spans both worlds is definitely a good simple taco, which I love. Dad, I don't know if you eat a lot of Mexican food.
Probably not a lot. My blood glucose doesn't like bread and wraps and all, so
Mm.
I've eaten less. But believe me, I could love it, and I love it hot. So, um, but that's not been one of our regular. My wife's allergic to gluten, so going to a Mexican restaurant is often not a good strategy. But we did go on Halloween. We're downtown. We have just tons of kids. They come to downtown because it's just so spooky and old, And we were in a process of redoing the kitchen, so we weren't in the mood. And so we just went out to dinner at Rocco, an Italian restaurant. And believe me, on Halloween, you can get into those restaurants. It's like everybody else is out passing chocolates out to little kids, you know, and so we had a nice dinner. So
Well, we didn't have any trick-or-treaters come to our house, and I don't know that we've had any since we moved into my neighborhood, but that's
well, you have
okay.
to come over to our
That's
house.
crazy. Yeah. You can come to my neighborhood. It is like off the chain. It is like you know, the movie E.T. when all the kids are running around. That is my neighborhood. It is insane over here. Insane.
All right. And let's see, we have oh, Teresa has joined us. Who would have guessed?
Hi,
And
Mom.
we have uh, Carolyn has joined us, and JP. Jay and Carter here are here as usual. Fernando, it's good to see you again. Phil is here, and Brad has come. And we better get going though, because we have talked for 7 minutes, and we need to get into the thick of things.
Absolutely.
Let me get the show on the road, um, and see if the gods of iPads behave well for us. So, as I mentioned, our subject today is the RMD. Sam, what does RMD stand for?
Required minimum distribution.
Okay, well, let me see. Let me grill you a little more. What year were required minimum distributions basically created?
Well, I would imagine that it is the year that the IRA was created, which was in 1974.
That's very good. It was, in fact, in 1974 that the Employee Retirement Income and Security Act, always kind of affectionately known as ERISA, was first passed and created the IRA. And what's that stand for?
Oh my
IRA,
gosh, I don't know. No one's ever asked
Individual
me that before.
Retirement Account.
Oh, never mind. I knew that. You
You
caught me
knew
off
that.
guard. You caught me off.
I always like to see keep them on their edge,
Yeah.
and so in 1974 we created that. We gave people the ability to make it easier to save for their retirement. They could put money before tax, before paying any tax on it, in an account, and it would grow without you having to pay tax until later you took it out for retirement. So that was it's kind of a milestone. And 1974, I don't know about the folks out there listening, that year kind of rang a bell with me because that is the year I graduated from high school, and it's the year I went to college. And I'm thinking, boy, what else happened in 1974? So one of the things you might have remembered that in 1974, in January of 1974, Nixon set the national speed limit at 55 miles per hour. I know, Sam, you may not remember this, but we had this wee little gas crisis. We couldn't get fuel in the Middle East and all this stuff, and to help cut gas consumption, they said you can't drive more than 55 miles per hour anywhere. And that was kind of a milestone. I remember that. And now
I remember that.
Nixon,
Didn't they have a license plate thing too, like odd even or something crazy?
there was like a while they talked about, I don't know if they actually did it. They said you could drive on one day with an even plate and one day on an odd plate or something like that.
Yeah,
I'm
something
not
crazy.
that went over. Also in 1974, since we're talking about Nixon, in 1974 in August, he resigned. And so 1974 was a milestone year for Mr. Nixon as well. Those of you who are into entertainment, if you like movies and TV, Blazing Saddles came out that year. Classic, I think Mel Brooks
Oh my
film.
gosh. Yeah, that's a
And
classic.
most people, I'm sure, remember the TV show Happy Days. and it started in 1974, and it went on for, I think, 11 more years. So another thing, and it wasn't a TV, but it became one. That was also the year that the book Jaws was published. So some interesting things.
Jaws was based on a novel?
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that.
You Google years, you find out all these things. So let me give you Hank Aaron. Can you guess what Hank Aaron did in 1974?
Oh, are you asking me? Because
I'm asking both of you to see, do you know what Hank Aaron did?
hit a grand slam.
No, he did more
I know.
than that.
I'm so sorry. I know nothing. I know. I have a very limited
Amy.
knowledge of baseball.
You know Amy. He settled.
I think he was like a Dodger. I'm not 100%.
Okay, well, he beat the record set previously on home runs by big.
There you go. Okay.
That was another epic year for sports fans. And let me give you a number, 34,900. Can you guess what that number represented in 1974? I'll see if I can start giving you a hint.
I'm going to guess the cost of a house. Oh, yep. There you go. There you go. Yep.
That was the average cost of a house in 1974. What's our average cost nowadays in Wilmington? In like several $100,000? You know, I think they published
the neighborhood. I would
guess 2 to 3.
You were definitely putting our feet to the fire today, Dad.
Right? I was like, oh my gosh.
But it's way more than that. So things have really changed since 1974. So little history there. Have some fun with the history. Now, an RMD, if you want to figure out how much you have to pay in RMDs, you go through a process. First, you go look at last year's, well, usually you look at the statement that comes in January. It will give you how much money you had in RMDs, 401ks, all these accounts on December 31st. And then they divide that by a life expectancy factor, which is also sort of an interesting number. And then that gives you the RMDs that you must take out. But before we get into that, we should talk about what age you have to take them out. And this has been a moving target. You know, the tax law is written in pencil, and this is a typical one. For the longest time I can remember, 70 and a half, the year you reach 70 and a half, you had to start taking RMDs out, sort of. We'll cover that in a second here too. But it moved, I think it was in 2020, it moved to 72. Why they had the year you turned 70 and a half? Because you always got to figure out, was I 70 and a half this year or not? It was just crazy. But it's
the more I learn about our tax code and many of the workings of the financial industry and its regulations, the less I think any of it was done with any real intention.
Bizarre. And you know,
a lot of it is very bizarre.
If you turn 70 between July and December, then you would be 70 and a half the next year. But the next year, if you turned it in the first half of the year, you were 70 and a half of that year. But they moved it to 72. That made it easier. Then we got a Christmas present, because a couple days before Christmas, Congress last year passed a law that became effective January 1st that said the new RMD age is 73, except if you were born on January 1, 1960 or later, your RMD age is now 75. So go figure, and who knows what it'll be next year. It just seems like every couple of years they like to change it. So this is important. And if you're out there and you are just turning 73 this year and you haven't taken RMDs out, you better be alert. However, there are two other dates you have to remember. One is December 31st and one is April 1st. Can you guess the importance of this?
Well, I know the importance of this.
What's the importance of April 1st?
So another kind of interesting part of the tax laws or whatever is that the first year that you take RMDs, so if it's this year when you're 73, or actually there are there are no new RMD people this year because it went from 72 to 73, but I digress.
I always love the trivia.
Yeah, now my example is falling apart. But basically, the first year that you qualify for RMDs, they will give you until April 1st of the following year to take the RMD or to move the money out of the IRA and pay taxes on it. However, if you wait until the next year, you'll have to take 2 RMDs that year.
That's right.
And typically every year after that, you have to take the money out of the IRA by December 31st.
So if you turn 73 next year, for instance, that would be what, 74. You would have the April 1st to 75. That's the latest you can wait. But if you wait then and then 75, you take 2. I mean, boy, they sure make it fun. And in general, it's a good idea to take it in that first year, the year you turn 73. Because if you have to take out 2, it may put you into a higher bracket. We occasionally have people that are still working or getting deferred comp, and they really don't want that extra income that year. It makes sense. I only have had 1 or 2 of them in the last 20 years when we ran calculations. But this is when you start. That's the data. Now, how much you take out. Remember, I talked about the life expectancy, or they call it distribution period. So this, and they mostly all give it to you in this ratio. They say when you're 73, your distribution period is 26.5 years. So if you had $100,000 and you were 73 and you had to take the money out, you divided that by 26.5, you'll find out, I think you'll have to take out $3,773 as your RMD that year. It's kind of interesting because one way to figure this out or make more sense out of it is you take the 26.5 and you divide it into 1, and you get 3.77%. So the first year you have an RMD, you got to take out 3.77, and they keep increasing as the life expectancy, the distribution period, is reduced. So by 80, you got to take out about 5%. By 90, about 8%. At 100, you got to take out 15%. At 115, you got to take out about 34%. And, it's not shown here, but we have other tables that show it. At 120, you got to take out 50% of your. So they want you to keep draining it. Now, let me ask you, if you were 73 and your life expectancy was 26.5, how old would you be 26 years after you were 73?
$100?
Yeah, about 99 or 99 and a half. Now, how many 73-year-olds live to that? In our classes, we teach about life expectancy. And what it is if this number represents the life expectancy, the distribution period for a 73-year-old person married to a 63-year-old person. It's the joint life expectancy for those two people. And that's where the number comes from. And by the way, if you are 73 and with chemistry today, it's more popular, you married someone more than 10 years younger than you, there's another set of tables you go to that lets you take it out a little slower because they're younger and somebody's going to live even longer. So a little bit of RMD trivia, but you can see you're going to increasingly draw it down. And one of the reasons for this is, they let us put this money aside without any tax for the idea that it's for our retirement. Some people retire with a good pension, Social Security, they don't need this. And they say, I'm just going to let it sit. And they get to a point, they say, hey, we have a $33 trillion deficit. We kind of need this tax money back into the system. And so they require you to take it out. But if you miss an RMD, there's a penalty. And it gets interesting here too. If you up till this year, the penalty was 50%, but they reduced the penalty to 25%. And they further modified it to say, if you get it out within 2 years, if you see it and fix it, we'll only charge you 10%. Now, this is an interesting point. Prior to this time, very few people paid that penalty because you could file Form 5329 and kind of say, boy, I have a really good mistake. My mother died and I was in grief and we were busy and we forgot or something like that. I had a client come in this past week, said, boy, my husband took my RMD out of his and we got in trouble. So we took it out, we formed 5329 and they forgave us. So, but Ed Slott, some of our experts are saying they think now that the new 10% thing is here, that we might actually no longer be forgiven. They're going to say you have to pay 10%. So it's kind of interesting there. Here is another key point. This is something you need to know. Let's say here you had 3 IRAs. These 3 here are IRAs. And, oops, get back here, little devil. And they're each $100,000 each. And it's time for you to take out RMDs. And let's just, to keep the math simple, let's say you had to take, wrong one. Let's say you had to take 4% out of each. So you needed 4 out of here, 4 out of here, 4 out of here. That totals 12%. If they're all IRAs, you can take all $12,000. You'd have to take out $12,000. You could take all 12,000 out of that first one and let the other 2 grow. We saw a lot of that in 2022 when everything was down. Stocks and bonds were both down. We often have people that have money in protected principal, things that didn't go down, and we took the RMDs out of there because these were down. We'll let these recover. If the market's way up, you might take it out of the ones that are up and capture the gains while they're there. So you have flexibility. If over here you have other things, for instance, you might have a 401k, you might have a 403b, you might work for the government and have a TSP or a 457. Boy, handwriting is not the greatest here. And let's say they each had 100. Well, you've got to take the 4 out of each one individually. The rules say you got to take it out of each separate account. You can't combine them like you can with an IRA. And so it's one good reason why you might want to, if you've got money in 401ks, 403bs, you might want to transfer them, roll them into IRAs. So as you get into your 80s and 90s, you don't go nuts trying to figure out where all your RMDs have to come from. So, but if you don't, if you're not aware of it and you don't do it right, you could have a fee. And the other thing we like to mention to everybody this time of year is, hey, if you're not aware of having taken your RMD, or you have any questions, give us a call, because you don't want to miss it. We routinely calculate it for people, add all their stuff up, figure out how much they have, and we do that periodically through the year. But if you got any doubt, or you may have accounts somewhere else, boy, make sure you don't forget. It's a good time to think about it. So that's about it for the RMD piece. Once again, if you're a visitor here, you can always go to our website, carolinaretirementplanners.com. Lots of good videos on there. Place you can get in touch with us. You can call the office at 815-3100. Say, hey, I want to have a conversation with Sam or David and answer any questions you have. So that is the RM. What's next?
Next is our wine drawing. So each week we give away 2 bottles of wine delivered directly to your door from Fermental Bottle Shop. They are located in the Cargo District in downtown Wilmington. They are a great spot, featured in Garden and Gun magazine as one of the top beer bars in the Southeast. You can go in, enjoy a pint, a glass of wine, or you can take it home. But you don't have to do any of that. If you win our wine, we will ship to your door 2 curated bottles exactly to your tastes. And and to enter, all you have to do is respond to our email every week, letting you know what the topic is, and let us know what your favorite Mexican food is, or just say, enter me into the wine drawing, and we'll get you in here. All right.
Love it.
And our winner is,
Here's my drum roll. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but
Lainey. So Miss Lainey, congratulations. You are our
Congratulations.
To everybody else, please enter next week. And actually, speaking of next week, don't we have a pretty cool happy half hour going on?
I think we do. Yeah. Do you want to say it, or
you should tell us? Yeah, you tell
Okay.
us.
So next week, we usually wait until December, but sometimes, they run out of like what we're talking about, but we're going early this year. We are going to be live from Fermental, and we're going to be talking about holiday beers and wine. So you could still join us like you always do via Facebook, but you can also come out and come see us live if you would like. So
A lot of folks love to come out and join us.
Yeah.
We open enough bottles that everybody gets a taste, and it's always a lot of fun. It's always a lot of fun.
It really is.
Any luck, we'll see you there in person. It's in the Cargo District at, what is it, 17th and Castle.
Right down the street from us. It's really not that far.
Kitty corner to the ABC store, in case you.
I know, right?
Get all your shopping done while you're there,
Yeah, just like one stop, 2 stop, holiday done. So it's good.
Get your holiday drinks.
I like it. It's a good thing. Yeah.
It's right at 5:00. We finished wonderful.
We did. I can't wait to see everybody, hopefully in person next week. But yeah, it'll be a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I'll bring my mom. I try every time, but she always just is like, nah. We'll see how she does. Yeah.
Well, maybe she'll come this week.
Maybe.
Or next week, this coming week.
Maybe. That'd be great.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Cheers.
Cheers.
Have a wonderful rest of your evening. And I hope everyone stays warm in this, I guess, seasonably cold weather after all the unseasonable warmth.
Yeah, I woke up this morning and had to put the fireplace on. I was like, what is this? Ew.
But
But
it's
it's
got to
supposed to be
get
nice
cold. The
again.
bugs will never die. And where will we be? Living in the
Yeah.
tropics, you know?
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Silver lining.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you
All
go.
right.
Yeah.
Well, enjoy
Have
a
a good
bungless
weekend.
night,
Have a good
everyone.
All
weekend,
right.
everybody.
Everyone have a good
Bye-bye.
night. Thanks. Bye bye.